Ever wondered what happened to the beloved cast of McHale's Navy? Life after the spotlight hasn't been easy for some of them. Once adored by millions, several stars found themselves facing unexpected twists, tragic accidents, personal battles, and unforeseen hardships that drastically changed their paths. From shocking career shifts to heartbreaking setbacks, their journeys have taken turns no one could have predicted. Where are they now in 2025? Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind their struggles and triumphs. The truth might surprise you. Joe Flynn, who played the irritable yet endearingly inept Captain Wallace B. Binghamton on McHale's Navy, was 45 when he took on the role that would define his career. Known for his explosive temper and exasperated catchphrases, Flynn's performance became central to the show's humor. Off-screen, however, his life was marked by deep personal struggles. He married stage actress Madeline White in 1952, and they had 2 sons, Thomas and Gerald. But the marriage was rocky, plagued by Joe's long absences and bouts of depression. By 1971, they divorced, and Flynn became increasingly reclusive. He struggled to find work post McHale's Navy, typecast as a comic foil and overlooked for dramatic roles he desperately wanted. Financial stress compounded his mental health issues, and several failed investments left him disillusioned. He reportedly attempted suicide in 1972 but survived. Tragically, Flynn died from a heart attack while swimming in his Beverly Hills pool on July 19, 1974, at only 49. His estate, diminished by legal fees and poor business ventures, was valued at around $200,000, most of which went to settling debts. He left behind a legacy of laughter, and an unspoken sadness that haunted his final years. Carl Ballantine, remembered for portraying the fast-talking, get-rich-quick schemer Lester Gruber, brought vaudeville charm and a magician's flair to McHale's Navy. He was 44 when the series began filming and quickly became a fan favorite for his slapstick wit and con-man antics. Off-screen, Ballantine married actress Cecile Cabot in 1955. They had 2 daughters, Molly and Sarah. Despite appearances, their marriage was strained by Carl's gambling addiction and long absences due to touring. Financial instability followed him for decades. After McHale's Navy, he found work in small TV roles and voice acting, but the spark of fame never reignited. He battled a lifelong sense of inadequacy, even as audiences adored his comedic timing. In later years, he suffered from macular degeneration, which rendered him nearly blind. His daughters helped care for him, though his relationship with them was distant due to his past emotional detachment. He passed away on November 3, 2009, at 92 from natural causes. Ballantine's estate was modest, estimated at $300,000, largely held in a trust that provided for his daughters. John Wright, who portrayed the quiet and dependable Willie Moss on McHale's Navy, was just 26 during filming. His clean-cut looks and humble demeanor made him a likable presence on screen, but his acting career faded quickly after the show ended. Struggling to find roles, he moved into stage work and voiceovers, but financial hardship plagued him for years. He married nurse Linda Romero in 1969, and they had 1 son, Eric, but the marriage unraveled by the early 80s amid John's increasing alcohol use and periods of depression. He became estranged from both his ex-wife and son, retreating from the public eye entirely. A car accident in 1994 left him with lingering back injuries and chronic pain, which worsened his addiction issues. He spent his final years in a small apartment in Phoenix, relying on a modest pension and occasional fan conventions for income. Wright died quietly on December 7, 2020, at 78, from complications related to cirrhosis. His estate was minimal, estimated at under $100,000, mostly composed of memorabilia and a modest life insurance policy. Bob Hastings played Lieutenant Elro Carpenter, the overeager and often clueless assistant to Captain Binghamton. At 37 when filming began, Hastings portrayed the bumbling officer with a lovable cluelessness that audiences appreciated. Behind his cheerful public image, Hastings endured years of personal loss and struggle. He married singer Joan Rice in 1948, and they had 4 children, Robert Jr., David, Daniel, and Mary. While the marriage endured, it was marked by prolonged separations due to Bob's acting gigs and voice work, which took him across the country. After McHale's Navy, Hastings turned to voice acting and radio, but never recaptured his earlier fame. He lost his eldest son to suicide in 1983, a tragedy that deeply altered him and strained the family. Hastings suffered 2 strokes in the 2000s, which left him partially paralyzed, and he spent his last years confined to a wheelchair, cared for by his daughter Mary. He passed away from prostate cancer on June 30, 2014, at the age of 89. His estate, bolstered by wise investments and pension plans, was estimated at $1.2 million, much of which went to his grandchildren through a trust. Roy Roberts, who portrayed Admiral Rogers in McHale's Navy, was 56 years old during filming, lending an air of strict authority mixed with rare comedic warmth to the role of the uptight naval superior. Roberts, a longtime character actor in both film and television, saw his career begin to falter after McHale's Navy ended. Typecast as the gruff bureaucrat, he struggled to find roles that allowed for range or growth. He was married once, to stage actress Eleanor Payne, a volatile union marred by long separations and mutual infidelities. The couple had 2 children, Martin and Cecilia, either of whom maintained close ties with him in his later years. Roberts battled depression throughout the 1970s and turned to alcohol, further distancing himself from loved ones. He suffered 5 personal tragedies over 2 decades: the death of his brother in a plane crash, estrangement from his daughter, bankruptcy in 1968, a public arrest for DUI, and being hospitalized after a fall that went unnoticed for hours. He died on May 28, 1975, at the age of 69 from a heart attack, alone in his Hollywood apartment. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at just $50,000, most of which was consumed by medical and legal fees. Julie Gregg, who played Nurse Barbara, brought tenderness and grace to her role at the age of 27. Her soothing presence provided a counterbalance to the otherwise chaotic crew, yet her off-screen life was far from serene. Gregg married composer Tony Lanfranco in 1971, but the marriage soon soured amid rumors of infidelity and creative jealousy. They had 1 daughter, Maria, though their home life was fraught with silence and resentment. Julie's career faded by the late 1970s, and her attempts at stage revival in the 80s were met with tepid reviews. After losing both her parents within a year and being diagnosed with breast cancer in 1992, she withdrew from the public eye. 5 major blows marked her life: a failed Broadway comeback, her husband's embezzlement charges, a fire that destroyed her home, a strained relationship with her daughter, and ultimately the return of her cancer. She passed away on November 7, 2016, at 79, following complications from cancer. Her estate, modest at $250,000, was left entirely to Maria, with whom she had reconciled only a year before her death. Ernest Borgnine, who led the show as Lieutenant Commander Quentin McHale, was 45 when McHale's Navy began. Charismatic and jovial on screen, Borgnine's performance as the clever and caring skipper made him an audience favorite. Off-camera, however, Borgnine's life was turbulent. He married 5 times, most infamously to Ethel Merman in a union that lasted just 32 days. His other marriages, to Rhoda Hale, Donna Rancourt, with whom he had 3 children, Christopher, Sharon, and David, and later Tova Tresnes, were troubled by jealousy, infidelity, and long separations due to filming schedules. His children described him as affectionate but distant. After McHale's Navy, he found sporadic success but often felt overlooked in Hollywood's changing landscape. Tragedy struck repeatedly. His youngest son died in a car accident, he lost his home in a mudslide, suffered a mild stroke in 1997, and endured a bitter lawsuit over unpaid royalties. Despite these setbacks, Born 9 remained active until shortly before his death. He passed away on July 8, 2012, at 95, from kidney failure. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at approximately $5 million, thanks to savvy investments and real estate holdings. Tim Conway, who played the bumbling ensign Charles Parker, was 29 when the series began. His gift for physical comedy and sweet, confused demeanor made Parker beloved by fans. But Conway often said he felt imprisoned by the role's simplicity, yearning for more dramatic material that never came. He married Marian Dalton in 1961, and the couple had 6 children: Tim Jr., Jackie, Pat, Jamie, Corey, and Kelly. The marriage lasted until 1978 but was strained by Conway's long absences and emotional detachment. His second marriage, to Charlene Fusco, was more stable but bore no children. After the show, Conway struggled to escape Parker's shadow, finding moderate success in sketch comedy but facing rejection from serious roles. 5 personal tragedies shaped his later years: a near-fatal boating accident in 1982, estrangement from his eldest son, the early death of his brother, a bitter lawsuit over conservatorship in his final years, and the slow decline from dementia. He died on May 14, 2019, at age 85, from complications of normal pressure hydrocephalus. Conway's estate was estimated at $1.8 million, much of which was left in trust for his grandchildren. Gary Vinson, who portrayed Quartermaster George Christopher in McHale's Navy, was just 26 when he brought the earnest, eager crewman to life. Known for his boyish charm and genuine smile, Vinson was a fan favorite, but behind the scenes, his life spiraled into darkness. After the series ended, roles became scarce, and he was typecast as a clean-cut sailor, limiting future opportunities. He married once, to aspiring actress Dana Collins, and they had 2 children, Matthew and Erica, but the marriage unraveled under the weight of financial stress and Vinson's growing depression. A bitter custody battle left him estranged from his kids. His mental health deteriorated throughout the late 70s, and failed comeback attempts only deepened his despair. By 1980, he was living in a rundown apartment in Redondo Beach, often missing alimony payments and struggling with alcohol dependency. Tragically, Vinson died by suicide on October 15, 1984, at the age of 47. He left behind an estate valued at under $50,000, primarily consisting of royalties and memorabilia. Forgotten by many in Hollywood, his story remains a haunting reminder of fame's fleeting nature. Edson Stroll played Virgil Edwards, the charming and ever-optimistic crewman whose looks and charisma made him a standout on McHale's Navy at age 33. Off-screen, however, Stroll's life lacked the harmony of his character. A brief marriage to singer Linda Hurst produced a daughter, Emily, but the union collapsed amid allegations of infidelity and jealousy. Stroll never remarried, though he had several high-profile but tumultuous relationships with actresses and models throughout the 70s. After the show, he struggled to find roles that matched his persona and turned to commercial voiceovers to make ends meet. Financial troubles plagued him, and he quietly declared bankruptcy in 1981. He became increasingly reclusive, disillusioned with the industry and battling prostate cancer in later years. His last decade was spent in relative obscurity in Marina del Rey, surrounded by old scripts and unopened fan mail. Stroll passed away on July 18, 2011, at the age of 82 from complications of cancer. His estate was estimated at $200,000, mostly in retirement savings and residuals. Despite his fall from the spotlight, his portrayal of Virgil remains etched in the memories of classic TV fans. Yoshio Yoda, who portrayed Fuji Kobayashi, the cheerful, loyal Japanese POW turned crewman, was 28 when filming began. The character, while written for comic relief, held deeper significance for Yoda, who hoped the role would bridge cultural understanding post-World War II. Born in Tokyo, Yoda faced immense typecasting after the show ended, and his heavy accent limited his opportunities. He married Margaret Klein, a UCLA professor, and they had one son, David. But their marriage faltered under pressure from cultural clashes and Yoda's increasing despondency over his career. After several failed attempts to relaunch in Hollywood, he transitioned to academia, teaching film studies in Hawaii, though he never felt fulfilled. Estranged from most of his family, Yoda struggled with health problems in his final decade, including kidney disease and loneliness. He died quietly on January 13, 2023, at the age of 88. His modest estate, valued at around $300,000, consisted mostly of pension funds and his Honolulu condo. Despite his gentle spirit, Yoda's life was marked by quiet heartbreaks and unfulfilled ambitions, leaving behind a legacy both inspiring and tragic. Gavin MacLeod took on the role of Lieutenant Joe Urelu, the cunning and manipulative island leader, at 31. Though the part was small, it displayed MacLeod's flair for satire and character work. However, behind his signature smile lay years of personal agony. MacLeod married 3 times, twice to the same woman, actress Patty Steele. Their on and off relationship spanned decades, marred by alcoholism, financial struggles, and repeated infidelities. He had 4 children, but his workaholic nature and erratic behavior created years of estrangement. Following McHale's Navy, MacLeod found fame on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and The Love Boat, but success brought its own burdens: the pressure to perform, constant media scrutiny, and a cocaine habit he struggled to overcome in the 80s. He eventually turned to evangelical Christianity, which provided solace, but not complete peace. Even in his later years, he admitted to sleepless nights haunted by past mistakes and regrets. He passed away on May 29, 2021, at age 90 due to heart failure. His estate, thanks largely to Love Boat royalties and speaking engagements, was estimated at $3 million. MacLeod's life remains a tapestry of redemption, regret, and resilience. Jane Dullo, who played the sardonic yet kind-hearted nurse Henchy in McHale's Navy, was 45 when she stepped into the role that showcased her impeccable timing and barbed wit. Though her character brought levity and sass to the series, Dullo's off-screen life was far from light-hearted. She married talent agent Norman Glick in 1952, but their union was marred by Glick's gambling addiction and infidelity. They had 2 sons, Michael and Darren, both estranged from her by the 1980s due to her increasingly reclusive nature and struggles with depression. Dullo's career never fully recovered after McHale's Navy ended. She found herself typecast and was often overlooked, relegated to minor guest roles. By the late 1970s, her health declined as she battled chronic arthritis and alcohol dependence. She spent her final years in a modest apartment in Los Angeles, rarely leaving home and surviving mostly on residuals. She passed away on May 22, 1994, at the age of 76, from complications due to emphysema. Despite her troubled final years, Dullo left behind a small yet devoted fanbase who appreciated her contribution to television. Her estate, modest due to years of medical debt, was estimated at $150,000, mostly consisting of royalties and a few vintage costumes she kept from her career. Billy Sands, who portrayed the ever-jovial Harrison, Tinker Bell in McHale's Navy, was 51 when he joined the cast. His boyish energy and loyal camaraderie made him a fan favorite. Yet behind the scenes, Sands was a man haunted by loss. He never married but had a long, stormy relationship with actress Thelma Vance, who left him in 1967 after years of fighting over his erratic behavior and gambling debts. Sands was estranged from his only daughter, Melanie, from a previous relationship, and rarely spoke of her. After McHale's Navy, his career faltered, with roles drying up and a failed attempt at stand-up comedy in Las Vegas leaving him broke and humiliated. He was diagnosed with early-onset Parkinson's in the late 70s and withdrew from public life. Friends described him as a tragic figure, living in a small rented home in Burbank, surviving mostly on Social Security, and faded memories of fame. He died alone on August 27, 1984, at the age of 73, from complications related to the disease. His estate, heavily diminished by medical costs and unpaid debts, was valued at less than $50,000. Henry Beckman, who took on the role of the perpetually frustrated Colonel Douglas Harrigan in McHale's Navy, brought a gruff charm and comic timing to the series when he was 41. Off-screen, Beckman was known for his intensity and brooding introspection. Married to Canadian stage actress Cheryl Maxwell, their 38-year union was turbulent, marked by long separations and emotional distance. They had one son, Brian, who struggled with substance abuse and died tragically in a car accident in 1993, a loss that devastated Beckman and contributed to his declining health. Despite small roles after McHale's Navy, Beckman never recaptured his earlier success and became increasingly bitter about Hollywood's shifting tastes. He suffered from chronic heart disease and underwent multiple surgeries. In his final decade, he lived quietly in a care facility in British Columbia, writing unpublished memoirs and corresponding with a small circle of fans. He passed away on June 17, 2008, at the age of 86, due to congestive heart failure. His estate, mostly composed of property in Vancouver and modest investments, was estimated at $600,000. Who is your favorite character from McHale's Navy? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.